good morning to you.
And now, an educational feature brought to you by The Afternoon Drive.
The woke left is waking up.
It's too late to say good night, so say good morning.
You know, the progressive left is constantly pontificating. They're constantly orating about how much they feel for the plight of the, quote, the workers. You know, poor people, the common man, people like us. Yet, for all of their lamenting, they keep voting for and empowering the individuals that do the most to actually destroy the very people that their bleeding hearts claim to be wanting to help. Case in point, Joe Biden has been an absolute disaster for the economy. That is without debate. You have Democrats now sounding off about that. You have members of the progressive left who, for all of their talk about wanting to live as minimalists and all of their talk of green energy and wanting us to be a part of the Paris climate agreement and all of this fol-de-rah hogwash bullhock, they all want the latest in technology. They all want to be comfortable. They all want to live a comfortable, if you will, pampered life where everything is just there and it's provided, and yet the very things that are needed to make that happen, they also work to legislate to make illegal, i.e. fossil fuel. The progressives wanted Joe Biden to commit to ending fracking, to ending the oil exploration that was being done here in the U.S. They wanted an end to the pipeline. They wanted the fossil fuel industry done. We had to go back to just burning wood and getting around on a solar-powered yacht like Greta, which is really nothing more than a sailboat. But yet, they don't want to give up, jet travel and all of their little perks like air conditioning and having a warm house in the winter, while they pontificate all of this hogwash that they pushed and wanted Joe Biden and the ilk that pulls his puppet strings to do. And now that they've done it, Shazam, Batman, they've had a realization that we're going to have a problem this winter. We're going to have prices are going to double on home heating. Bum, ba-dum-bum. Case in point, Saagar Enjeti over at Breaking Points. Now, Saagar tries to paint himself as kind of a in-the-middle kind of guy. But in reality, he did not like Donald Trump, and he wanted Joe Biden, and now all of a sudden, he's upset that he realizes that Joe Biden isn't up to the job, that Joe Biden hasn't got a clue what to do with regard to what's going to happen this winter. That said, I'm going to play some excerpts of a recent monologue that Saagar did, and I will be interrupting it to correct him where he doesn't get it all the way correct.
Well, first food, then gas. Today, we are going to spotlight another area of everyday American life that is crushing the working class. That is the inability of the Biden administration to allay people's deep concerns, and as deep as they can, to ensure that people understand just how much globalization and ineptitude at the highest echelons of American society have set us up for failure in the long run. Now, you might have noticed, but it is getting colder outside. Perhaps you yourself have reached for that heating button. Soon, the bill is coming, and I have terrible news for you. An effective tax upon all Americans is coming in the form of your heating bill this year. The results could spell disaster for the average household income. My friend Talman Joseph Smith over at the New York Times, he wrote an excellent piece forewarning that Americans' heating bills are about to contribute to inflation in a massive way. Approximately 50% of all U.S. households use natural gas to heat their homes. Now, the U.S. government now estimates that the average American's natural gas heating bill, again, for half of all households, is about to go up by 30%. In actual dollar terms, that is a disaster. The average American household who uses natural gas is about to spend $746 on heating this winter, a full $172 per household more than they did last winter in 2020. That is the most expensive natural gas market since 2005 at the height of the war in Iraq. That is just average Americans. Rural Americans are also in for it because they rely largely upon heating oil and propane in more remote areas, which disproportionately impacts the Northeast and the Northern Plains. Connecticut's governor is warning residents that residential heating oil consumers can expect a 40% increase in heating their homes from last year alone in price. Or what about propane? That's another story that's just as bad. Propane prices have actually doubled since last year. The markets are preparing for, quote, Armageddon heading into the winter months. Propane is the signature heating source for 6 million American households, and residential propane is currently up by 50% over the last year in price demand. The biggest problem is that we had a pretty big stockpile of propane, but if you've, been out to eat over the last year, you've probably seen it gets used at restaurants and a lot of other places right now. That has depleted our stockpile, and it's going to rack up prices for rural Americans. And right now, the Energy Department estimates rural Americans who heat their house with propane will spend 100% more than last year if it's a colder winter. The best case is 29% more if it's a warmer winter. The only energy consumer right now who is seeing the most modest increase in price is those who heat their homes with electricity, where the high-end estimate is only 15%. In other words, this is a total and complete disaster. We are staring down the barrel of a full-scale crisis this winter. The Energy Department is literally telling us that the average consumer is going to pay a minimum of 30% more. And yet, where the hell is the administration? I played for you all yesterday that horrific clip of Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm cackling and laughing off of higher gas prices. But this is who is in charge right now. The president right now is nowhere to be seen. People are seriously about to run into a brick wall with their household finances exploding. Massive increase in the price of gas, massive increase in groceries, now a big increase in heating bills. As I called for yesterday, Joe Biden needs to tap the Strategic Petroleum Reserve now. This is a full-blown crisis. Yet, when Biden was asked about it this weekend, he was totally non-committal. Enough. Tap it. That's what it's there for.
Hey, Sagar, here's an idea you left out. Turn the pipeline back on. Turn the pipeline back on. Open the oil fields again. Let's get back to fracking. Let's get back to our offshore oil exploration. You know what would happen if you turn the pipeline back on? Why, in some states, people would go back to work. That would boost and bump the economy. It would lower fuel prices. Do you know that President Trump actually had us completely energy independent? We had fuel to sell to the world, and it lowered prices at the gas pump, and it lowered prices for home oil, propane, natural gas. It was a wonderful thing. So before we tap into the reserves, we could just open the oil fields back up, build another refinery, and let's go ahead and use the natural resources that we already have in abundant supply. And then you can, yes, dip into our reserves and force OPEC to drop oil, and not because we want to buy it from them, but because we want to go back to exporting it. And if we're exporting it cheaper than OPEC, then OPEC is going to be forced to lower. See, it's this whole thing called capitalism, market and demand, demand and supply. You get all this? This is how it works, Sagar. And I know you want to be warm this winter, and I am certain that you're not going to heat your little YouTube studio there with just one solar panel and an electric blanket. You're going to have a furnace on. You've got a furnace, I'm sure, in your condo. I'm sure Crystal Ball does as well. So this hypocritical, all of this nonsense about Green New Deal, and which would expend more fossil fuel to actually mine the materials to quote unquote get us completely green independent. The whole thing, pardon the pun, it's a pipe dream. Just turn the pipe back on and watch the prices come down.
Second, Biden should tap the Northeast home heating oil reserve. That would provide relief for rural Americans. 100% increase in the price of heating your home is simply not tenable. 6 million households who are poor should not pay the price. And we have reserves for exactly this reason. Heating oil is a matter of life or death for some people, and we cannot screw around here. But third, and finally, we need to stop exporting our natural gas now. Natural gas exports to the rest of the world are up 71% since the start of the pandemic, with record demand from Mexico, Canada, Europe, and Asia. I and several senators are now telling Biden, hey, screw that. American gas is for Americans first. We should get our fill at a preferential price. Then the rest of the world can bid on what we have left. Natural gas exports to the rest of the world are up 71% since the start of the pandemic, with record demand from Mexico, Canada, Europe, and Asia. I and several senators are now telling Biden, hey, screw that. American gas is for Americans first. American gas is for Americans first. American gas is for Americans first.
Sagar, are you quoting Donald Trump? Put America first? I thought that was racist. You can't say that. I never understood, for the life of me, how the liberal left saw the phrase, make America great again, and America first. I never got that total just delusional disconnect that it was racist. Now, I know they don't really mean that, because Bill Clinton used to use that phrase, make America great. It was a talking point, something that they could use to try to hurt Trump with minority voters. But when you are putting America first as far as bring our jobs back from overseas so that Americans, and I'll bet some of those Americans were Black Americans, Asian Americans, Latino Americans, when you put America first and you use the resources that we already have in abundant supply, we can then make it cheaper for people to be able to heat their homes. I'm certain that there are Black people that heat their homes in the winter, that there are Latino people that heat their homes in the winter here in the U.S., that there are Asian Americans here in the United States that in the winter turn the furnace on. Put America first. You have Joe Biden babbling about build back better. You know, he talks about that the only way to build back better is to just keep throwing artificial money at the problem, which is only going to create inflation. And if you think we're starting to see inflation now, imagine what it's going to look like come January and December or February when it's really cold outside. Costing more to drive the goods and services we can get our hands on. It's costing more to drive it to the stores. That gets passed on to the price of the product. So that goes up. The fuel prices are going up. The home heating oil's going up. Aren't you glad you got rid of the mean orange man because he tweeted mean things and he was an authoritarian and a tyrant? We were never freer and we never had a better economy than we did with Donald J. Trump. Okay, so you didn't like what he tweeted. Don't read him. You didn't like what he had to say. Click the channel and don't watch one of his rallies. But he was great for the economy. He was great for America. And now you're seeing what tyranny actually looks like. You will wear the hat. You will take love potion number 9. You will be fired. You will comply, or we will make your life miserable. That didn't happen with Donald Trump. That happened with the guy that was going to bring civility back, that was going to unite us. And he was going to fix the economy that wasn't broken. It was just muzzled and gagged because Trump got duped into shutting everything down in the name of health during an election year because he didn't want to get politically killed over it, and they politically assassinated him over it anyway. But Sagar, I'm glad you're getting it. and I'm glad there's some passion in your voice about it and wanting to make sure that something is done. Good luck with that.
It is crazy that Americans would have to pay higher price because of a foreign demand for a product produced on their soil. Natural gas, as I mentioned at the top, is the #1 heating source for American households at 50%. Any percent relief in price for those households would mean hundreds of billions of dollars less spent on utilities, more able to spend on the economy, but more importantly, it would mean lives saved. When heating bills are high, people don't want to pay, and they don't turn on the heat, and every year some senior freezes to death at home, or people with sick kids can't afford it, and the temperature just makes it all worse. And we cannot allow that to happen. All 3 of the measures that I laid out here can be done tomorrow at the discretion of the President of the United States. We don't need Congress. All he has to do is use his pen. We need to pressure Biden on this now to actually wake the hell up and act, or we are in for a real bloodbath this winter. Governments are built for times like this, and we need the president who is actually going to do something about it.
Well, unfortunately, the president that could get it done and could get the supply chains rolling again and would have the economy rocking right now has been banished to playing golf in Florida because everybody wanted the guy with dementia. Jobama Biden. Barack Obama, the sequel. And look what you got. America last. But hey, you're just going to have to learn the old Jimmy Carter motto. Do with less. You know what to do. Smack the bell. Click the word all to get notification of my next rant. Give me a thumbs up. Spread this video everywhere. In fact, find Sagar's email and send it to him.